Well, I'm Laurent. I'm the CEO of CloudVO. I'm also the CEO of Pacific Workplaces. And as we're talking about the big news that affected us the last few days, I think I want to let you know what's going on using both my hat as a CEO of CloudVO, but also as Pacific Workplaces, an operator with 18 locations, mostly in Northern California, but also in Nevada and Arizona. So, so the scoop, which is no longer a scoop because I'll let you know in my email to all of you guys, CloudVO is being acquired by Yardi, and it will be effective tomorrow on June 4th. And now we are in the process of integrating the CloudVO assets into the Yardi listing network. So I'll explain what that means. But I'll tell you a little bit, first a little bit about why CloudVO decided to sell to Yardi. Well, for one thing, if my presentation works, Yardi has developed this network of listing sites, some of whom may be familiar to you, like Commercial Cafe, like Property Shark, 42nd floors, and so on and so forth, that are leaders in the traditional office space. So if you do an office space with your location, chances are there either Commercial Cafe or Property Shark or any of the other sites will show up as number two, number one, certainly on the first page of any of your search. In fact, it's not just one of those sites that will show up on the first page, but typically 3 or 4 of them, and I'll show that to you later. So Yardi and the websites that they control have already a dominant position in the search for office space. And over the last few years, they looked at co-working as their next major strategic initiative. And one of their websites is Co-working Cafe that is dedicated to co-working. But the information that you find that you list, if you list with any of them, you list maybe through CloudVO. If we port your data over with your authorization, obviously, your information will join one database that is the same for these 7 sites. So when you list with one site, you list with all of the other 7 sites automatically. Okay, and listing is free. And the question becomes, why listing with those sites? What has Yardi done with those sites? Well, this graph shows you the number of visitors to their website. That's the y-axis. You could see Commercial Cafe. It's one of the Yardi sites that generates close to 800,000 visitors per month. This was for the month of April. Compared to other sites that you are more familiar with, probably Commercial Search is actually another Yardi site, but you all know about Instant Offices, sort of the leader in our industry on the brokerage side. You probably all know about Liquid Space and the Alliance Virtual, as well as DaVinci, and then a bunch of smaller sites that have a hard time to get their head over water. So number one, Yardi is coming with a very powerful strength of some of their marketing sites already on the market. And in fact, if I add to that Property Shark, which is another site owned by Yardi, and add WeWork and Regus on this graph, well, everybody else here has a really hard time to keep their head over water. And although I did not put CloudVO on this map, CloudVO would have been there, in between Instant Offices and Despace, having a hard time keeping its head over water. So it requires tremendous amount of resources via pay-per-click investments, via SEO investments, to be able to be competing with the Property Shark, the Commercial Cafe, and the WeWork and Regus of the world. We, as specific workplaces, do a pretty good job with that in our local market. CloudVO has had a hard time, like many of the smaller players, to do it on a nationwide basis. So if I look at what, if I share with you what I think we should expect in our industry, especially with the service providers in the middle that are trying to match the demand from both enterprise customers and SMBs, small and medium-sized business, with co-working operators, in some cases landlords that are trying to have their own co-working operation, I see two major platforms. One is Instant. Instant has been a dominant broker in our industry. They got a $200 million investment from IWG, which is Regus, and they use that money to acquire a bunch of sites like DaVinci, like CloudVO, Easy Offices, some of them doing a good job in their niche market, like DaVinci with virtual offices. You've got Yardi that comes from the software side of the business, but has established already a dominant position with their marketing site. And then in the middle, you've got a bunch of smaller players. And all of these players, to be effective long-term to co-working operators, they need to help us with a bunch of those tools that I listed on the left-hand side. Going from SEO, SEM, marketing visibility on your behalf, e-commerce, CRM, and then the software tools that manage the backroom operations like invoicing, space management, and so on and so forth. And at some point, would that be nice if all of those tools were integrated? And I think that's where that industry is going. And it requires a tremendous amount of resources to do that. And that's the type of resources that Yardi has. That's the type of resources that the Instant platform is trying to develop. And it's going to squeeze out, in my opinion, the majority of the players in the middle, of which CloudVO was one of them, but not the only one, because it requires so much resources. It's a very difficult word to develop the software behind those platforms, and we suffer as CloudVO, but we did a good job at that. But by the time we did a good job at them, we didn't have any money left for major pay-per-click campaigns. So if you're not going to be able to do it on your own, you might as well partner with somebody. In this case, we didn't just partner, we sold to somebody that has a much better chance to do that than us by ourselves. And that's Yardi. But again, I envision two winners, the Instant platform, the Yardi platform. There will probably be somebody from the zillions of smaller software providers in the middle that will survive and thrive. There's always somebody that surprises you. If I have to make a bet, I would say Liquid Space, because they have done a really good job with corporate accounts, but not necessarily a lot of these other players. And I bring this up because like we at Pacific Workplaces, listing with Instant, listing with the Commercial Cafe, the Yardi listing sites, and Liquid Space because they do that good job with corporate accounts, and then a couple because of historical relationship. But we don't want to list with too many other service providers because it's a waste of time, or we can encourage competition, because if you have a startup that wants to go into your market and convince you to list with them, all of a sudden they will compete with you in your local marketplace for visibility on Google. So that's my recommendation as CEO of Pacific Workplaces, to be careful who you list with, how you list with. Obviously, we are a little bit biased towards Yardi because of everything in blue is something that they have integrated in that platform. But the good news here is that you don't need to be a Yardi customer, a Yardi software, Yardi Cube customer to list on their sites. And the other reasons why CloudVO could not do it alone, it's because scale matters. And scale matters not only to get the resources to be ubiquitous in Google search, but also because I believe that the commission rates, the discount rates that service providers retain, it's going to converge to 10% for pretty much everything. Not just an office referral, but also a meeting room booking and a virtual office plan sold. And at 10%, CloudVO did not have the enough of a scale, enough of a volume to make the economics work. And that's why we charge 30%. I think we should charge 10%. We could not do it alone, so we're doing it with Yardi. Same thing with meeting rooms. You know, we retain 50%. It's too much, and we couldn't see a path for us to be able to have a viable economic model if we kept only a 10% commission. Office space, you know, the norm of the industry is 10%. If you are charging 15%, and all of that is okay. So what is Yardi? Well, Yardi comes from the software world. It's a software company that is also a commercial listing company through those 7 sites I mentioned earlier, which will generate lead and revenue for you as operators. It's not just anybody. It's a private company that generates close to $2 billion of revenue. It's all owned by its founder and CEO, Anant Yardi, who is a pretty amazing guy. It's growing 20% a year, 9,000 employees, and started by being the leader of property management software supporting the apartment building industry. And then they acquired marketing site and they developed their own site like apartments.com and they have many other brands. And now they own that market. 80% of the leads in the apartment business go through them for the benefit of their clients. And what they have done in the apartment industry, they brought it to the traditional office space with sites like Commercial Cafe, like Property Sharks and others. And now they are doing it with the co-working industry. So there's a lot of parallels in these various vertical industries. And that's one of the reasons that I believe they will be successful. They are already successful because they're not new in our industry. So as I said earlier, you don't need to be a Yardi customer, Yardi Cube customer. You know, you may use Office R&D, you may use, I don't know what else you're using to manage your business and still list with that network of sites for, you know, the listing is free and the commission at 10%. 10%, there are some commissions at 20%, 10% if you take advantage of the automation of the websites, and they can explain that to you. 20% if you don't. For example, if there's a manual process associated with the booking of your meeting rooms because you don't sync up via a Google Calendar, it requires more manual processes, and they charge 20%. But for those of you who sort of respect their ability to be extremely efficient through the technology, it's only going to be 10%. So the Yardi team will follow up with you with respect to the detail of all of that. And that's the first step is going to be for you to agree with their TNCs, which are pretty standard. I don't think it's going to be a problem. And with your authorization, we will be with the Yardi team able to do a white glove transfer of your collateral, your description, your pictures that we have on CloudVO to Co-working Cafe that will propagate to all of these other sites. But that's also a great opportunity for you to look into that and refresh your pictures and information, because in some cases it hasn't been done in quite a few months. So with that, let me show you exactly what these sites, how these sites look like. So I'm doing a Google search here. Let's do Office Space Las Vegas. And hopefully it's going to show, yeah, what I wanted to show you. Look, the first sponsored link is LoopNet, and right after you've got Commercial Cafe, which is a Yardi site. Then if you scroll down, you've got Property Shark, which is another Yardi site. And then if you scroll down, you've got Commercial Cafe, which is a Yardi site, and all in the first page. Now, the My Google profile map, it's your opportunity to shine, because Google favors local businesses as opposed to multi-location sites. So right now, you know, I'm not sure if any of you guys, Office Nest is a partner of CloudVO, but that's your opportunity to be there. The way to be there is by making sure you get lots of Google review and you have lots of engagement on Google, like Pacific Workplace is doing over here, even though we opened that location less than a year ago. If I go down on that first page, you know, you'll see some of your competitors, some of our competitors, and again, commercial search, which is a Yardi site, and then only Liquid Space and Instant Offices. And that's pretty typical. You know, I could do like Walnut Creek, which is the city and the closest here. I'm doing this Zoom call from my Napa house. Commercial Cafe over here as a sponsor, you know. So anyways, why don't we go into one of the Yardi sites, and they all look the same. So I click on Commercial Cafe here, and let's see what we have. Let me see, let me do a location which is Walnut Creek. Okay. And then I'm going to do just co-working. For some reason, oh no, Ohio, sorry, I want to do Walnut Creek, California. I'm not in Ohio. I don't know what's going on, guys.
Just go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Or not back, sorry. If you erased, it showed up. I think you have to click on the one. If you just erase two, and then so go ahead and erase that, and then type out Walnut Creek, and it's going to auto populate for you. And then just click the one.
Okay, California. Okay, very good. Finally. So it usually works. So I'm not too sure what I did. But here you go. 6 co-working locations in Walnut Creek, California. This is Pacific Workplaces, you know, if, and they have this little label that says co-working, that flag it as co-working. And then we have our brand, which is very visible. Your brand will be visible. Regis already is listing. Victory Workplaces, it's one of our friendly competitors, and you've got others over here. Many people will just do a search on all properties, and have a lot of properties, 199. But again, as I said, you've got a co-working label that flags, in this case, it's specific workplaces, as a co-working location, whereas this one would be a traditional location, a traditional space. So 199, people can filter out what they are not interested to see over here. So if I just want, well, just want co-working, I'm back to my 6 locations. So that's how it works. We, with your authorization, will be able to do a white glove transfer of your data. If you want to list yourself, it's very simple. You go to add a listing, and it's pretty straightforward. It's not dissimilar than what it was on CloudVO. So let me go back to my presentation. We've done that. And let's go down to the practical aspects of this transition. So what's going to happen to your clients, your current clients, the CloudVO clients that you are supporting out of your location? Well, we'd like to offer you to keep them by having a direct relationship with them. And all of a sudden, you don't have to pay us the 30 to 50% commission. On June 1st, which is tomorrow, we will send them our formal cancellation notice, 30-day cancellation notice, while at the same time encouraging them to start a direct relationship with you. So why are we doing it this way, as opposed to transferring the relationship to Yardi? Simply for 2 reasons. One, it's a measure of goodwill by Yardi, that essentially saying what we care about is more the new leads that we're going to bring you in the future, because there'll be many and a lot more than what CloudVO has been able to do. Secondly, to avoid the issues of having to chase the customers, to have them change from the CloudVO T's and C's to the Yardi T's and C's. It's just easier to say, look, take over these relationships if you want them. If you don't want them, let us know. We'll find a new home for them, but why wouldn't you want them? And we let them know to engage with you for a direct relationship. There are some special cases, but they're few and far between, of clients that are not months to months. Maybe they have prepaid, for example, for a full 12 months and they are halfway through their contract. So we'll reach out to you on a case-by-case basis, but there will be some sample solution. For example, if they prepaid and they are halfway through their term, we'll pay you the remaining 6 months and ask that you honor the remaining of the contract. This kind of common sense things. We will continue to support live answering. So this applies to individual clients. They may have a mail plan that at your location, but we provide phone answering. We are keeping the phone answering portion of CloudVO with the Pacific Workplace family of companies, and we'll continue to provide that service. We will continue to provide phone answering on an outsourcing basis. Many of you are using us as your primary phone answering service provider, so there won't be any change with that. We may just change the brand from CloudVO to Cloud Answering, but we have always referred to that service as Cloud Answering anyway. And we recommend that you proactively reach out to those clients. You keep the current pricing going, you honor that, and you honor them through their current term, and we'll let you know what it is, and ask support@cloudvo.com if you have any questions. So, and of course, list with the co-working cafe and the other 7 sites. So that's what I wanted to go through with you. And open up the floor for questions if you have any.
There is one in the chat. Robin asks if CloudVO is going to provide clients with the contact information of the operator, or
Oh, that's an excellent question. The answer is yes.
Yes.
Sierra, when do you think that's going to be able to take place?
As soon as possible. We do, send contact information each time we set up a new client, but I think it'd be best that we provide it again to the
Yes.
partner so that you can reach out. And then should the client reach out to us, we'll also provide your contact information.
Good. Any other question?
just from earlier, right before the meeting started, it was asked if, for those operators that want to have like a direct call with Sierra to chat about any specific circumstances or situations, if that's possible as well. And Sierra,
Do you want to give your phone numbers, Sierra?
Sure. I mean, my email would be best. It's sierra@cloudvo.com. And you can call our main line. You can put that in there. Our main line, and do you want to put that in there as well?
Yeah,
It's 888-698-6334. And you can just ask to speak with me and they'll get you over to me.
awesome.
Okay.
I also put that in the chat. Those are all the questions that I see at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, if you have other questions, feel free to reach out to Sierra for, sort of practical things. She's a lot more important than me. Also, if you have some questions more strategic as to why we did it, and anything that I said earlier about my perspective on the industry, feel free to reach out to me at laurent@cloudvo.com or at pacificworkplaces.com. I both get those. All right, with that, thank you very much. Perfect timing. We're at the end of the half an hour, so that's terrific. Thank you, guys. Bye. Good luck.
Bye.
Thank you.